So, welcome. Welcome to your new year 2016. We hope that your year of 2015 was for you productive, prosperous, joyful, exciting, meaningful. And we of course hope that the next year, 2016, will be just that and perhaps more. What is coming up in 2016? We do not tell the future. That is not what we do. We like people to make up their own future. We like them to decide for themselves what their future will be. However, we would like to talk about energies that are around very strongly in the world right now. The name that they have been given is terrorism. Terrorism. And this idea of terrorism is given to us from the governments, from our neighbors, from the media. And in this way, it is very strong. This idea, this energy of terrorism, it is very strong within the blood, the bones, the cells of many, many people. And we're going to say something controversial. Yes, terrorism is a threat. And yes, it is not a good thing at all. But we would ask you to look at yourself and ask yourself, what am I afraid of with this terrorism? What terror, what fear is this energy of terrorism bringing in me? Is it exacerbating something that I already have in my being? Is this something new? Is this as an extension of something else in my life? Other fears? Other threats? That's what we would ask you to do. And we would ask you to be very critical of yourself, not in a negative way, but critically look at yourself. Because the idea of terrorism is not new. It is not new. The human race has been living and feeding on terrorism from the time that humans found out there were other humans with them on the planet. It has always been there. So perhaps you could say it is within us, and therefore when it appears, we become very fearful. Our instincts of extinction, our instincts of survival become very strong, and we fight very hard. Whilst people are fighting very hard to keep their own life absolutely the same, because that's what we do when we are looking for safety. We are looking for something absolutely the same. When people are fighting hard for that, whether they are going to war, whether they are funding war, whether they are in the media, in the governments, or whether just by themselves, they are feeding the fears that they have in their being, and they are putting those fears onto others around them. If that's what is happening, then we would say to people, look at yourself. The more that we feed those things, the more that we give them energy, the stronger they become. Now you might say, I am one person. I cannot stop the war. I cannot stop the funding. All of this type of thing. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. You cannot. But you can work on yourself. You can look at yourself and say, how am I, this one small organism, this one small being, how am I funding terrorism? How am I fueling the fear? Fueling that energy? Feeding it. How am I doing that? For myself, in myself, how am I doing it? If you are frightened of flying on a plane because you think that it might be blown up in a terror attack, etc., and so on and so forth, you are feeding that energy. You're feeding that energy. But the question we would say is, what are you really afraid of? What are you really afraid of? Are you afraid of dying? Are you afraid of not being safe? Are you afraid of what? Something in yourself, something that you can't control? That's what you are afraid of. You're not afraid of the terrorist attack. You're afraid of something within you, something about you. And that thing fuels your fear and feeds the energy of terrorism. So what you can do as one individual person is look at yourself critically and ask yourself, how am I funding terrorism and feeding that energy? How am I doing that? Am I living in fear of walking out onto the street, of living my life? My life? My life? Not the life of somebody else that's insisting that I be fearful, the governments, the media, the terrorists, but my life. Do I want to live like that? In that kind of fear? Is that what I want? And then you might say, well, I can deal with that. Yes, mothers, I can look at that. But how is that going to help the people in the countries that are being bombed, that are being destroyed, that the women are being raped, the children are being stolen to put into war? Do you know that one drop of water, one drop, can be the drop that makes the bucket overflow? One drop. The bucket can be full, completely teetering on the edge, and one drop makes the bucket overflow. Why are you not that drop? Why can you not be that drop? Imagine if there were thousands of drops like that, human drops, thousands of them that were working in this way. Imagine that. Imagine that people started to stand up and say, no, I want to live my life, not the life that is being imposed upon me, or the life that I think is being imposed upon me, but my life. I'm going to stand tall. I'm going to stand straight. I have a core of iron. And to be perfectly frank, you do. Your blood is full of iron. You have a core of iron. Just like this planet. Just like the planet that you reside on. The planet that you reside on has a core of iron, molten iron. It is that iron that makes the magnetic field of this planet. You have a core of iron. That iron pulses through your body every day, all the time. It moves through that heart, that pump of the heart. And as that happens, you are creating a magnetic field. If you live in fear, that magnetic field becomes weak. It becomes less than. It becomes contracted. If you allow that core of iron within you to be strong, to be courageous, to be fearless, then it is going to expand your magnetic field. As your magnetic field expands, so too will the magnetic fields of those around you, because you will be meeting their magnetic fields, but not with fear, not with hatred, not with loathing, not with despair, not with sadness. You will be meeting it with courage, with the fullness of life, with meaning. And those people will also get that energy. That energy, not the energy of fear and despair and loathing and hatred, but the energy of courage, the energy of meaning, productiveness. And that is how the one person, you, can be the drop that can change the world. So this year, we would ask you, we would beg you, we implore you, be that person. Be the one drop, the one human drop that makes the water overflow. That's what we would implore you. Do that. You might not see the difference this year. You might not see the difference for 10 years, but you will see the difference. You will see it in yourself, and you will see it in those around that are very close to you. And eventually, that magnetic pulse, that magnetic field, that magnetic energy is going to start moving outward, outward, outward. And it is going to swallow up despair, swallow up hatred, loathing, fear. And then, what do the terrorists have? What do they have? They might have weapons, and they might have anger, but they don't have you. And that is what they currently have. So, we send many blessings to you. We send compassion, we send love, we send hope. But most of all, we send the power to be you. Absorb it, accept it, and move forward in the fullness of your life. Thank you.